Hello, my name is Crow. I'm a plugins developer for Unturned, and in this video I want to show you how to work with the new config.txt file that replaced the config.json file in the 3.25.8 update on September 9, 2025. This new config.txt file has a much different format than the previous config.json file, but it has a very cool feature that is descriptions for every option that it has, so that you can learn about any option that it has from this one file without having to check it online, which I think is great. And as an example in this video, I'll be showing you how to set the icon for your server, change the description on the server list, then I'll show you how to increase the loot on your server from zombies from default to 5x, and finally I'll show you how to always enable the chart and satellite for your players, so they don't need to find a GPS or chart to be able to look at the map. So let's get started by opening Steam. I suppose you have already downloaded and already installed Unturned dedicated server because you already have a server. So we go to library and find Unturned dedicated server on the side menu here. So if you can find it, you can check this icon, click on it to only show the games and applications that have been installed on your computer. And once you find Unturned dedicated server, right click on it and select manage and browse local files. So this opens the folder with your Unturned dedicated server files. And if you had run a server at least once before, if you go to the servers folder, this is where you should go next. Go to the servers folder, and if this folder is empty like mine, it means you haven't run your server yet. So let me do that really quick. Okay, and now as you can see, you will know when your server is successfully started when it says loading level 100%. This means that your server was successfully started, and now if I go back to this folder that we just opened, I'll just go back through here. So right click on Unturned dedicated server, manage, and browse local files. So we're again in this Unturned dedicated server folder. And if we go to the servers folder now, you will have a default folder. And this is the folder of your server files. So let's open it. And this is where config.txt file is located. Just make sure, because now every time you restart the server, it will create a new backup file for this config.txt file. So make sure you're editing the config.txt file. And if you don't see the file name extensions like I do, I have txt and workshop download config.json file. So if you don't see the JSON and txt, you have to, in the file explorer, select this, view, then show, and make sure that the file name extensions is checked, as I do. So make sure this has a check mark. So once this is good, so you see the txt file, config.txt, you can open it, and you can open it with Notepad, but let's do that, right? So we open it with Notepad. And this is the format of this new config.txt file, as you can see. And let's start by changing the icon for our server. So the most common way of setting an icon is to upload it somewhere. For this, I'm gonna use imgbb. So go in your browser and search for imgbb. And it should be the first result. So this is a free image hosting. You could also, like Imgur, but imgur is now banned in many countries, so I recommend using this instead, or any other alternative that lets you upload your files and get a URL that you can share, right? Because all the people viewing the server list will be getting your server image from this website. So this website is free, you don't have to pay anything. Just press start uploading and you can select the file that you want to upload. So this should be your server icon. Your server icon should be a square, and well, let's see again in the Notepad. It recommends a 64 by 64 pixels image, but actually you can use a higher resolution than this. Just make sure it is a square icon to display it properly. So let me select this file. So I'm uploading this file to imgbb right now. So let me find the file I want to use as a logo for my server. I'm gonna use this one. All right. And now here, if you're using imgbb, right, make sure that you set it to never, like, don't auto delete it, and then press upload. Okay, and once it's done, it says upload complete, but you have to make sure that this link that you copy has a PNG or other image file extension in it, like, because this one, the viewer links, doesn't have it, so this won't work. We need to get the URL with the file extension. So press on this drop down and shall select, I believe, HTML full linked. Right, this one does have a version with the PNG file. Let me see if there's a better one. No, okay, so the best way for this is you select any of this and you find the URL that has your that has a file name in it. So as you can see, this one has a /logo.png. So copy this whole thing because it's hard to copy from here and paste it here. So now pay attention. I'm gonna zoom in a little and gonna make it full screen. So it is very important that you paste it right after the property name. So as you can see, the format of this file is above the config option, you have a comment like this one, and below it you have this option. So the comments always start with 2 slashes. So if you pasted it here, it won't work because this is still a comment. So you must make sure that you paste this right after the config option name. So in this case, icon. And you make sure to add a space and then paste the value that you want to use as an icon. Now, like I told you, this file, this icon must end with the, well, PNG, JPG file name extension. I just pasted the HTML snippet, so I'm gonna have to remove this part, right? You see, I'm removing this part because I want it to be just the URL here. So this is the URL. It ends with PNG, right? And also gonna remove this part. All right, and I just gonna add enter again because I deleted it, just to, it wouldn't matter, but just to make it clear and readable. And as you can see now, this is the valid URL. So you can retrieve it from this HTML code snippet that you get from imgbb, or if you use any other image provider, image hosting provider, then just make sure you use the URL that ends with file name extension. And now, so we just set an icon for our server that is displayed in the server lobby menu, but we still need to set an icon for that is displayed in the server list. So that icon is called thumbnail. So I'm just gonna copy over this value because I want to have the same icon for my server in the menu, like in the server lobby menu, as I do display in the server list. So, because that's a common practice, right? So I'm just gonna paste it here now. And now we have set the icon and thumbnail for our server successfully. So let's move on to the next thing. So I said I'm going to show you how to set the description for your server. But we have 3 different descriptions that you can use for your server. This one's description hint, so the description which is under the name in the server lobby menu. As you can see on the screen right now, it's this one. Then you have description full, which is displayed on the right side of the server lobby menu. It's not so important because few people read it, but you can set it as well. It can be a longer message like rules or any other message you want to say to players that are about to join your server. And finally, the description that I want to show you how to change in this video. So the server description server list. So this is the most important one because it's the description displayed underneath your server name in the server list. So this is what will get people to click on your server. So you probably know that most servers have something like keys, vault, or anything else that has like a unique feature for the server. So if you have a 5x server like we're gonna do, I'm gonna write down vanilla, right? Because it's gonna be a vanilla server. And we're gonna write down that it's a 5x server. So we're gonna use the pipe and write 5x. So players know that this is a 5x server and vanilla server. And maybe let's add one more. Let's write the map enabled, because everybody is gonna have a map on the server. All right. And now to make it stand out even more, we're gonna set the color for this to, let's set it to, let's find some custom color, baby. So if you want to find a custom color, like any color you want, let's go to your browser and in Google search for color picker. And now here you can choose a color, any color for you want your messages to show us. Like I'm gonna choose the color that's maybe light green, so it should be pretty visible on the server list, like this one. And then make sure that you copy the hex value, so this one right here. Then go back to Notepad to editing your server. And here you see I typed in color with a opening tag and equal sign. And now after this equal sign, I need to paste the color value. And after that, I need to add a closing tag, this one. All right. And now, if you have more colors in your server description, then you would have to add, like, let's say vanilla, you want to have this green color message, but all the rest you want to be like in a different color. So if you want to have just vanilla in a green color, you need to add a closing tag like this. And then only this vanilla message, this vanilla string text will be the one that has a different color, and this will have a default color. But actually I want the whole message to be green, so I'm just gonna remove the closing color tag. So it looks like this. So we have a color tag and then the description. All right. And important thing to remember that if you have a too long description, so if you're having a problem, I mean, the description has a character limit. That's not very clear how much is it exactly, because it depends on other stuff as well. It depends on the icon URL size. So So basically, if you have a problem with your server not displaying the description, even though you set it here, then make sure that it's not too long, because it could be just too long. And if you think it's not too long, like if you think it's a very short description, then make sure the URL is not too long as well. Because this limit is like both for the icon picture URL and for the description. I can't remember right now what is it, but I'm gonna write it down here, what is the character limit for both of them. Approximate character limit. So anyways, let's move on. So the next thing that I'm going to show you how to change in your config. Oh, and by the way, very important information here. Because the way we have set up our server right now, it's not going to be visible to everybody in the server list, right? This server is only currently, the way it is set up, is only running on your computer, and only in your local network people can join it. So it's a private server, not a public server. If you want to make a public server, I have another video for that you can check out. The link will be in the description. So if you want to have a private server, if you want to have a public server, please check out this other video that's in the description. But for this video, we'll just continue and work on the increasing the loot from the zombies, and then we'll enable the map. We'll make the map to be always enabled for players. So let's start with zombies. So for zombies, we're going to scroll down, and as you can see, every some time in this file, you will see like a section. This section is server section that has the curly braces, and then it has multiple options. So we need to find an option. We need to find a section for zombies. So let's keep scrolling. Here we have Unity events, so it's not zombies yet. Here we have items. Oh, and so by the way, items may be something you want to edit as well. Because as you can see here, well, that's going to be too much for this video, but when you're editing this file, please just read through all options. Maybe you'll see something that might be useful for your server and use it. For example, here it says that percentage, well, it says percentage 0 to 1. So if I wanted to have like, and the server in the easy mode only uses 0.35 by default, so 35% of item spawns. If I wanted to make it 70%, for example, I need to type in 0.7 here, like this. And then there will be 2 times more items spawning on the ground than default. But this has a limit. The limit is 100%. And the limit exists because every map has a limited number of spawn points, right? So the person making the map has to set those spawn points for items on the ground manually. So for example, let's say Seattle on the Washington map has a, I guess 500 item spawn points. So if we have only 35% enabled, or let's say 50% enabled, and the spawn points is only 500, then it means that 250 items will spawn on the ground at the same time, max, right? So this is why it is limited to, well, this is why it is a percentage value, not the number of items, right? All right, let's keep scrolling. I'm going to leave it as 1.0. You can change it as well if you want. But I'm not going to cover all the other options here. You can read about them yourself and then set it. So let's find the zombies. Keep scrolling. This is vehicles. By the way, vehicles is also something that you can change. It's a bit different, but it's here. You see the max instance is tiny, small, medium, and large, and insane. So this is the number of vehicles the maximum number of vehicles that can be naturally spawned on your server, depending on the map size that you use. So for example, PEI is a medium size map. So the default maximum number of vehicles that can spawn there naturally is 16. It's only 16. So on all of the PEI map, there can only be 16 vehicles. So if you're making a 5x server on PEI, for example, you might want to increase it to 32, let's say, right? So there's more vehicles, so the players can play a little easier. But again, if you wanted to say that some crazy value like 320, this is not gonna work for the reason of limited spawn points on every map. Because every spawn point has to be set manually by the map developer. So let's keep it at 32. I think this is a reasonable value. I think PEI has like 50, maybe 60 spawn points for vehicles, so 32 will be enough. And for example, Russia is a large map, so Russia has a much more vehicle spawn points, so you could easily set it to 64, for example. And so, but we're just going to change the value for PEI. Alright, let's keep scrolling. Maybe we find the zombies finally. There we go. Here's the zombies. So this is where you're going to increase the loot from them from default to 5. So the zombies are going to drop 5 items. So you might think this is a spawn chance, right? But the spawn chance is actually this is a spawn chance of the zombies themselves. Like, what is the chance that the zombie will spawn at the given spawn point? Or like, actually, is the same like item spawn chance. So it is limited by the number of spawn points on the map created by the developer of this map. So if Seattle, for example, has 200 zombie spawns, 200 zombie spawn points, if we set it to 0.5, that's 50%, then 100 zombies are gonna be in Seattle. You see what I mean? So maybe let's change it. Let's set it to 50% like this. I know this video was supposed to be only about increasing the loot from it, but let's also increase the number of zombies on the server. Then we have the loot chance, as you can see here. So remember, this is the configuration option, this is the configuration option, and this is a comment. It's a description of this option for you to know what it does. Alright, so the loot chance is by default, well, depending on the difficulty of your server, my server will be normal, so the loot chance from zombies is 50%. So this means when you kill a zombie, there's a 50% chance that it's gonna drop anything. Which is kind of low. Like if you play on a 5x server, you always want to get something, right? Because this is it's supposed to be easy gameplay, right? So in order to make the zombies always drop something, you must set this value to 1, which means 100% chance. Like this. And then we have options for specific zombie types, like crawlers, sprinters. Well, I'm not gonna change that. I'll just go for it. And we'll look for the option, which is this one, min_drops. And this is the minimum number of items that the zombie will drop. And since we're making 5x server, the players are going to expect every zombie to drop 5 items. So I'm going to set the minimum to 5. And then, as you scroll down a little, there's max underscore drops, which is again the maximum number of loot drops, which is items from zombies, right? And this value we also want to set to 5. Then, because this is so, then we have a minimum mega zombie drops, because this was just a minimum and maximum number for the normal zombies, right? Or like any other zombies that are not mega zombies or boss zombies. And if you want to set the value for mega zombies, it's here. And by default it is set to 5. But so on the server without any modifications to loot, the mega zombie will always drop 5 items. Which I guess is fine. But since we're making the 5x server, we should multiply this number by 5, right? So the mega zombies are actually going to drop 25 items. And this is a little tricky because 25 items from mega zombies is really, really a lot. And you know the items that it drops are high tier. So you might want to think about it, like maybe 10, 15 be enough. But since it's, well, I'm just going to set it to 25, right? We'll see. We'll see what it drops. But it's going to be 25 items on the ground, which is crazy even for the 5x server, I think. And also remember to set the max for mega to 25 as well, or your value. And finally, the next thing is boss drops. So the drop from the boss zombies. I don't know if you know what the boss zombies are, because most servers, like by default, they're not enabled. Because they're stronger than mega zombies and they don't drop high tier loot necessarily. Because they're like versions, stronger versions of normal zombies. So if you kill a firefighter if you kill a boss zombie that's wearing a firefighter clothes, you're gonna get loot from firefighter like zombie, but you actually kill the zombie that is stronger than mega zombie. So I guess this is why it is disabled on most of the servers. So I'm gonna keep it that way, and I'm not gonna modify the loot from them, because it makes no sense if we don't have them enabled, right? Alright, so I'm just gonna scroll through the other options, see if we missed something. And I see we did. I forgot about beacon, which is a Horde beacon max rewards option. So actually this one we don't want to change. I was actually wanted to change to the beacon rewards multiplier. Because you know Horde beacon also drops a certain amount of items. And since this is a 5x server, they should also drop more items, right? So here we can set the multiplier. So this is multiplier, not the number of items that drops. It is a multiplier of number of items that drop from Horde beacons, because even though vanilla Unturned, so the original Unturned only has, I think like, no, original Unturned only has one Horde beacon that drops like certain amount of items. But you can find mods, or there's other maps that have multiple Horde beacons that drop different number of items. So that's why this cannot be a number value here in the config.txt file, but it has to be a multiplier. Alright, so if this is a multiplier, we're just gonna set it to number 5. And this will multiply the loot from Horde beacons by 5. Alright, and the last thing we could look at, because I see the animals section, and animals also drop loot, right? So we could increase the loot from animals as well. So here's respawn time, damage multiplier, armor multiplier. So apparently there's no option to change the loot from animals. Or at least I don't see one. Which I guess is fine. Because nobody really cares about animals, they don't drop anything useful. Alright. So I guess we cannot change this. If you wanted to change the loot from animals, you can check out the Animal Manager plugin on my website. If you want to learn how to install plugins, there's also a separate video on that, the link to which will be in the description below. But anyways, so let's just go through the barricade as well. Structures, players. All right, yeah, because I almost forgot. So now we want to also enable the map on our server. And in order to do that, we have to find, first we need to find this players section, which I already found. And once you find the players section, you want to scroll down and find the... Actually, I may be wrong. This is not the, sorry, it's not the players section. We gotta keep scrolling. Because it is in the gameplay section right here. All right, so to enable the map and satellite on your server to be always visible to players, no matter if they have chart item or GPS item or not, you need to go in the config.txt file, find the gameplay section, and in this gameplay section you want to find chart option and satellite option. And as you can see, here we need to set it either to true or false. So I'm going to set the chart to true. And I'm going to set the satellite to true as well. And if you wanted to enable compass on your server, you could also do it from here. Alright. So that is it, I think. So it is now time for us to save this file. So let's save it. And just one more tip. Obviously I was scrolling through this file all the way. I could just type in and search for those options because I remembered them. And you could just search for, let's say, icon, right? Using Ctrl+F and then searching and press enter. And I would find it, right? Same with the mean zombie something. I could search it, right? Sorry, mean drops, I think. Right. And here I could just edit the minimum number of items that drop from a zombie, right? So if you know the option names, you could just search for it. But if you don't know, you just want to scroll through, read the descriptions, and find what you need. And this is a great feature of this new config.txt file, that it has those descriptions that make it much easier to find and understand the options that it has. So anyways, I hope you saved the file already. Let's save it again. And let's close this file. So now we're gonna test our changes. I'm gonna start a server. So I'm gonna go in Steam. And I'm gonna launch my Unturned server. Now look here. When the server is starting, if you see any errors, oh sorry, I don't know what. Oh sorry. So first thing, you always have to make sure to shut down your server first before you restart it. So I had a server already running and I need to shut it down before starting it again. So in order to shut down your server, you can type in the shutdown command, like this, and then press enter. And it is the best way to shut down your server, because then it will save the changes. It will save your server before it shuts down. So if you had built anything on your server, it's not gonna be lost. But actually, I strongly recommend that if you have your own server and play on it for a long time, that you install Rocket, which is a module for Unturned, also a plugins framework. And this Rocket has an option to set an automatic save for your server. So it's gonna automatically save your progress, save your changes in game every certain amount of time, which by default is, I believe, 30 minutes, which is way too much. Way too, it's not frequent enough. So in another video linked in the description, I am showing you how to change this value. How to install Rocket, how to enable this automatic save. It's enabled by default, but how to set it to the lower value. So it runs like every 5 minutes instead of every 30 minutes. Because I think this is very important, because you might lose your buildings, your game progress. You might not want to play Unturned again if you lose that, right? Alright, let me finally just shut down the server, pressing enter after typing in the shutdown command in the server console. Alright, now I'm gonna restart the server. So as you can see, it's starting up. If you see any red errors on startup here, you see I don't have any. But if you do see any red text here, then there's a good chance that you have made a mistake in your config.txt file. And it might be the reason why something isn't working. So when you start a server and test it and something doesn't work, scroll up here, all the way here, around here at the beginning, you might see some red messages about any errors in your config.txt file. It might be telling you exactly what is wrong with it. But we didn't have any errors, luckily, so I'm just gonna see if the server had loaded. I can see it has loaded because the loading level is 100%. So now I'm gonna start Unturned and see if our icon, our server description, 5x loot, and map is enabled. Alright, my game has loaded, so I will go to the servers menu and see if our server has a description. So let's select the LAN here and let's refresh it. Alright, let me just make the UI scale bigger. So you can see better. So I have a LAN selected here so I can see my server. And as you can see, the icon and the description of the server has been set successfully. The description is green, as like we want it. So let's click on our server now. Alright, and here you might have noticed it before that you can see the server settings in this details in the configuration section here. And as you can see, we can see our changes like items, spawn chance was set to 1, vehicles to 32, and so on. And all the players that play on the server are able to see that, right? So this is something cool. You can make sure that your changes were applied by checking here. So let's join the server now. Right, let's go. What can we test? Right, let's first test the map, right? So as you can see, I open the map and I have the chart and I have a satellite, even though I don't have any item in my inventory. So that works. So another thing we changed was the loot from zombies. So let's find a zombie. And let's try to kill one. So we also increased the number of zombies, but I don't really see too many zombies here. But I think I'm just unlucky. Or lucky. But as you can see, I killed a zombie. Let's see how many items. We get 5 items from the zombie. So it means it works. Our loot multiplier works. Let's check the other zombie. This looks like 5 items as well. Alright. And let's just give it a look. Like, does it look like a 50% of zombies? Yeah, it's more than default, I think. It's quite a few zombies. Alright. And the other thing we changed was vehicles, right? So there should be more vehicles. Well, this is something really hard to check really. But I see one. There's a bicycle there. There's a car here. I think fair enough. I think it's fine. Well, unfortunately, there's no easy way to check that, really. Oh, there's another vehicle there. But it looks like there is a lot of vehicles anyways. Alright. So I think that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you learned something from it and that you know how to use the config.txt file. But if you have any issues with it or like have any problems, questions, feel free to ask in the comments or on our forum. Our forum link to which will be in the description as well as in the comments section. So you can find a link to our forum on our website. And please let me know what do you think about this type of videos. Do you want to see more videos like this going in depth and sharing all the information that I think is useful and that I know on the topic that is covered? I'm really sorry this video was over 40 minutes long, but I just wanted to go through everything. So please just give me your feedback. Let me know what should I say more, what should I say less, what should I focus on. So the next videos will have, will maybe be shorter and still useful. Alright, well, thanks again and see you in the next one. Bye.